All right, so call me crazy. It is only April 17th, but it's warm here in Central Virginia. And our frost date, our last frost date average is usually the 20th, which is just 3 days away. I looked at the forecast and I saw that in the next 10 days, it's going to actually be quite warm. And I think by the time we get through that 10-day period, we're going to be well into May. We'll be into May, and frost is probably not going to happen. So I'm going to be risky. I'm going to risk it for the biscuit. I'm going to direct seed some squash, summer squash, and cucumbers. These are the very first warm weather crops to go into my garden. So you can see that I'm just tingling with excitement here. Garden geeking is, I know, it's not for everybody, and a lot of people just don't understand it. At any rate, it's welcome to the warm season. Um, I am going to give myself some crop insurance, however, and that is I'm going to plant some backup plants indoors, and I'll do that later in the video just to show you how to do it if you don't know. Lots of you are good gardeners, seasoned gardeners, more seasoned than I am, and you know how to do that. So, at any rate, I'm going to put those plants indoors. One of three things could happen. If something happens to these plants here that I'm direct seeding, if they don't come up, they don't germinate, they get eaten by voles, which happened last year, or whatever, I'll have backups. So that's good. Second thing I'm going to do, the second thing that could happen is I could give them away. Third thing that could happen is I could just plant them elsewhere. So there's nothing to lose there by starting them inside except some shelf space under your grow light. This year, I'm going to make a concerted effort to sow squash and cucumbers in succession rather than keeping plants in too long. I think that may help mitigate the battle with the squash bugs. Plus, particularly with squash, they get to a point where they just kind of get beaten up and attacked. So I will be sowing squash, different kinds of squash throughout the season. And I think I'm going to be able to harvest squash well into the fall that way. Yeah, so I'm going to plant a couple of kinds of summer squash, some Caselli Italian and some just early prolific straight neck. And I'll plant a couple kinds of cucumbers. So stick along with me. These plants are huge, so you want to give them plenty of room. So just pull back the mulch and loosen up the soil well. This is a no-dig bed. The seeds are large, and you plant them about an inch deep or so, and I put 2 per planting hole. Tamp them down and leave the mulch open to let the soil warm with the sun. Okay, now it's time to plant some cucumbers. And I'm going to do just some smaller sized cucumbers that should ripen pretty quickly. One is called Roseland Small White, and they are literally white cucumbers, but they taste just delicious. I didn't grow any of these last year, so I'm anxious to get them back in my garden rotation this year. I did grow this, they're called homemade pickles, which are pickling cucumbers also. And they did pretty well for me last year. I'm going to give them a go this year and see if I like them a little bit better. This is a trellis that is on the southwest corner side of my garden, actually the west side, but near the southern edge. And as you can see, there is a massive stand of Monarda here. And that's okay because Monarda and cucumbers get along pretty well. Problems that I have growing cucumbers here is that sometimes they get stuck on this trellis or this hardware cloth that I have on the outside that I use to keep my rabbits out and things like that. So I think I'm going to actually plant them in a little bit this year and actually put a string to let them trellis up to here before they start going up into the trellis. So let's go ahead and just clear a little space here. And again, we're going to leave this open. Like the other beds, these have been well prepped with compost, and you can just see the friability of this soil. It's amazing. I love prepping my beds in the fall because when the summertime, when this planting time comes around, you've got everything all nicely settled and ready to go. All right, for the small Roseland whites, these are older seeds. And I'm actually going to put several seeds in just to see if we can get the germination. And I'll just pull whatever doesn't work. I think I'll put 1, 2, 3, 4 in this planting area, and we'll see what happens. They also go about a ½ inch deep. I'm going to pull this back so the sun can warm up this soil here. I only need 1 plant of each at this point. Pull out any weeds you happen to see that are in the way. You just want to stay on top of your weed situation. In no-dig gardening, generally speaking, weeds are much less problematic. It's one of the great things about going no-dig is that when they appear, you can easily remove them because you're using plenty of mulch, and the soil is very loose. And as long as you kind of see them, pull them when you see them, like I did just there, you can stay on top of any weeds that do happen to decide to show up. So it says the soil temperature should be 65 to 95 degrees. That's a pretty wide range. So now I'm going to go ahead and plant some inside. These outside cucumbers will probably take a little bit longer to germinate than the ones inside, just because of the variability of the soil temperature and the variability of the ambient temperature as well. But generally speaking, you can get cucumber seedlings to germinate in 3 to 5 days very often. Same with the squash. But we'll see what happens down here outside. My indoor ones, I suspect, will be better. So let's go up, pop those in. And now we're just going to plant some squash and some cucumbers. And these will be my backup plants, but this is a good way just to plant, just if you're not planting direct seeding as well. You want to have a relatively sizable pot. Literally, once these sprout, they're probably only going to be in these pots before transplanting out for about maybe 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. It goes really, really quickly. My potting mix is already moistened. And all you're going to do is plant your seeds. You need a container about like this. You're going to fill it up, pack it down, leave a little space at the top, and your zucchini and squash seeds are kind of large, so I put 2 in just to make sure they get germination. Just put them in like this, and then cover them up with the soil and pack them in. Now for your cucumbers, they're smaller seeds. Just pop them in the same old way, and you bury them about a ½ inch deep. These don't go down quite as much. Pack them in. You just put them under the lights, and you want to put them really close. There's only about this much distance between the light and the top of the soil. And that's just so that when they pop, they're going to get hit with bright light. And then I'm actually going to put them outside and let them grow outside in their pots, bringing them in at night. So that's all you have to do to plant your cucumbers. So very easy. I hope this finds you well. Thank you so much for watching. Happy gardening.